Hello there. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel, Snips by Kelly. I'm Kelly, and tonight I have a colorful, fun scrapbook layout for you that features Reindeer Days. Reindeer Days paper pack and sticker sheet dropped on October 1st and is a fun Christmas collection filled with reindeer. All kinds of bright patterns, really bright and really busy. So here are each of the pattern papers. We have busy presents and deer. We have a little bit of a holly background and some cute little deer again, some ornaments and some deer again. We have a wonderful plaid here, which is great, a Christmas plaid, more deer and trees, and more deer and trees, and really adorable, bright, fun patterns, but lots of deer. So lots of deer patterns, lots of busy patterns. And then there's coordinating cardstock, which is Reindeer Memories coordinating cardstock, 2 sheets each of a variety of colors that go with this collection. We're going to be using the Christmas peppermints, which are fun bling that can coordinate with this line. They're actually out of stock right now, but they're coming back. We're going to be using the Memories and More cards. The Memories and More cards for Reindeer Days have a variety of sentiment cards, cards with icons. So there's 3x4 cards, 4x6 cards with repeated patterns on them. And so you could use those to fussy cut. You can cut them into bits and pieces. You can take titles out of those. You can take icons out of those. And something that's really neat about the Memories and More cards is that they have 2 different sets of sticker sheets that come in the back of the pack. The stickers are quite small, but they work really well for adding embellishments to pages. So because this is a layout that will be incorporated into my 10-page Simply Scrappin workshop, I'm going to be using the pattern paper and sticker sheet, the Memories and More cards, and coordinating cardstock along with the peppermints, and I'm not going to be adding any stamping, die cutting, Cricut cutting, or anything that would require added equipment. Now here's one of my Simply Scrappin layouts that's going to go with this 10-page series, and I just wanted to show how I use those Memories and More cards to create this great patchwork background. So you'll be able to see many of the Memories and More cards for Reindeer Days in the background. Not only in the background, but I fussy cut deer, trees, sentiments, and all kinds of things out of those cards. It's a great way to add added elements to a page without adding extra work or extra equipment needed. So I always make a promise with my Simply Scrappin workshop to not add those extras. I do an elevated workshop called Sparkle and Shine with each line where I add all the things, but I try to keep my Simply Scrappin workshop simple, pattern-oriented, easy to put together, and with a very simple supply list. So I try to make all the parts and pieces out of cutting, fussy cutting, patching things together, and being a little bit creative when it comes to all the bits and pieces so that I can stretch the extra little bits into a full 10-page workshop. So you can see all the little clusters that were created out of those Memories and More cards. So I have a single photo here that is me in 1970, and I'm visiting a department store Santa. Now I'm going to actually turn this into a 2-page layout because I have other photos of my brother and I with this same Santa, but I recently lost my brother, and he's just a year apart from me, and I'm not quite ready to scrap my brother on camera. I still get a little bit emotional about losing him, and so I'm going to do 1 page for you tonight, and I'll complete the 2nd page off camera or off video, but you'll get to see it. It'll be part of my 10-page series. Now, we're dealing with a lot of busy patterns, and normally I would do everything I possibly could to tone down pattern. But in this video, we're embracing the patterns. I'm looking for a large pattern that would actually be work better as a whole instead of slicing it apart. So here we have this wide pattern with these really cute icons, and they really feel retro to me. And I've actually cut that pattern to 3 inches by 12 on the top and 2 inches by 12 on the bottom. And I want to do a little tearing. And I want to add some other patterns to them. And even though it's going to be pattern on pattern, we're going to find some ways to break that up, but really embrace pattern on pattern and busy. Normally, I do everything that I can using cardstock and other techniques to tone down patterns. But in this particular case, we're going to be using all the things, all the colors and all the patterns together. And I'm going to be pleasantly surprised myself, and I hope you're pleasantly surprised with how it all comes together. So I've created again 3 by 12 of the busy reindeer pattern, a 1 by 12, 1 by 12 of the garden green two-tone cardstock, which is part of the coordinating cardstock pack for Reindeer Memories, and then a 1.5 by 12 inch piece, two 1.5 by 12 inch pieces of this pattern here, which is the checkered pattern. And I really only probably needed a 1 inch piece. So if you want to use a little bit less than I do, you totally can. Now I'm going to pop up the busy reindeer pattern with foam tape and put the 2 other layers not popped up, more flush, but I want to do a little distressing. I want to bend the edges back. So I'm going to adhere the green, the garden green on top of the plaid or on top of the checkered pattern, fold the reindeer piece a little bit back, and then we're going to add foam dimensionals to the busy reindeer pattern. And I really love the pool party in that. I like the traditional red and green, but I'm also pulling in a little bit of that pool party. Now, my photo isn't even the best quality because, of course, it was taken in 1970 and it's had some wear and tear. But I love the vintagey vibe to the Reindeer Days. So we also have a Reindeer Memory scrapbooking workshop, which will be the base ingredient of my Sparkle and Shine workshop, my 12-page Sparkle and Shine workshop. Both Reindeer Days Simply Scrappin' and Reindeer Memories Sparkle and Shine are scheduled to be released in December, but I actually try to work ahead if I can, and I'm getting a few of the layouts done now. I love kind of like bouncing a little bit all over the place, so we get to see a little bit of everything and all of the product that dropped on October 1st. October 1st, we had the launch of 4 brand new scrapbooking lines, and Reindeer Days, Reindeer Memories, Reindeer Days was just one of those. So I had fun creating with the Halloween line. I've done some creating with the fall line. Now I'll be working a little bit on the Christmas line, and then we'll have just a winter line also that's going to be up and coming as well. So now you can see that I've layered those pieces. I'm going to do the same thing on the top. Of course, the larger reindeer piece is up at the top and the smaller reindeer piece is at the bottom, and I'm just embracing that wide pattern. Sometimes when you butcher or cut apart those wide patterns, it doesn't look as nice because the patterns are a little too large and there's big empty space pieces or pieces with empty space. And so I kind of really loved the idea of using a really large busy pattern on the top and that whole retro feel. It reminds me of the old Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and some of the wrapping paper that we would have had in the 70s. It's really got a cool retro vibe, which is why I thought it would go great with these Christmas pictures. So I did lose my brother, who is only a year older than me, and we were very, very close. My brother passed in June of this year. And so the second companion page to this series is going to be similar. We're going to have duplicates when it comes to the top, the bottom, and the middle, but then we'll have extra photos. So we'll have, I usually love to have a feature photo on one page and then lots of photos on a second page. It's that part of me that loves the decorative element of scrapbooking. I love functional scrapbooking, but I don't like to give up the decorative element, but yet sometimes you do have to give up a little bit of the decorative element to fit lots and lots of photos on. So sometimes when I have seen pattern on pattern in the past, it's bothered me. Like, why did they put a busy pattern on top of a busy pattern? But I'm actually going to pick out 4 busy patterns that I think are going to go with each other, and we're going to use them in small doses to create an interesting background. So let's face it, this is a busy pack, and you could do many, many things. The whole coordinating cardstock pack will tone this down, and I'll do a lot of toning down within the workshop, but I'm also going to embrace color. I just got back from the She Loves Color conference in Brookfield, Wisconsin. And I'm going to tell you, they are not afraid of pattern on pattern and color on color and color on pattern. They love color. That's probably why it's called She Loves Color. But I was inspired to be braver with patterns. It's not always going to work. It's not always going to be my jam. But this pack couldn't have worked better for experimenting with pattern on pattern. So I have created 4 of the bell pattern, 4 1/2 inch strips, the checkered pattern or the plaid pattern, 3 1/2 inch strips, then 3 each of the next 2 patterns, the holly and the deer pattern, in 1/4 inch strips. We're going to tear those to about 7.5 or 8 inches. I do end up tearing a little bit more off so that it's between 7 1/4, 7 3/4 inches. And we're going to tear all those strips on both ends. And then we're going to create a pattern that appears random but really isn't that random. We're going to rotate those patterns, and we're going to rotate the 1/2 inch strips and the 1/4 inch strips. Now, when you look at that, where you have that wide pattern on the top and all of these patterns down below are narrow patterns with the icons closer together. So we have a wide pattern on the top and a wide pattern on the bottom, and then a whole bunch of small strips of narrow patterns. You noticed I didn't put any cardstock in there, and I'm not going to. I'm not going to divide it by cardstock, which is what I normally do. I normally would put a piece of cardstock between each pattern to tone down the pattern, but it's just going to work. It's going to work great. It's a hodgepodge of Christmassy patterns, but they are narrow. The icons are closer together. They're not wide busy, if that makes sense. So I'm going to start with the bell pattern, and I'm going to kind of lay those out, and we're just going to make the strips come flush against each other. You can overlap them a little bit or put them flush, but we're going to make some of them go more to the left and some of them go more to the right. And of course, you noticed when I was tearing, I wasn't measuring. I was grossly eyeballing and grossly measuring it based on the very first strip. I think I made the very first strip about 7.5 inches, and some of my strips got a little long. So as I put them together, I did actually tear a little bit more. So I'm rotating, starting with the bell, then the deer, then the plaid, then the holly. Then I repeat it again, bell, deer, plaid, holly, bell, deer, plaid, holly, and I end with bell. That's why there's an extra bell strip. So all of the strips have 3, and except the bell strip has an extra. So I have a 2.5 by 3.5 inch photo. Yes, it's quite a small photo, but it works. And so we'll have more photos on the right companion page when I do that. But but I've mounted that 2.5 by 3.5 inch photo on a 2 3/4 by 3 3/4 willow white piece. And now I'm just experimenting with some of those Memories and More cards, the Reindeer Days Memories and More cards, to kind of create a toggled background. So again, we're doing yet another pattern on pattern. I am going to break the pattern up with something a little more solid in the back, but I'd like 2 different patterns to toggle behind the photo. So I'm just playing around here until I get it right. So I'm looking at a couple Memories and More cards. I try the front, I try the back, and then I also have a couple partially used Memories and More cards from the diamond layout that I showed you earlier in this video. And so like here's one here where I just kind of have half of it left. And I envision having a little bit of journaling to the left and adding some little sticker elements from those little stickers that come right in the Memories and More cards, or stickers that come off the sticker sheet. So I'm trying to toggle that. I like the little frame around the one Memories and More card, and I love the striped Christmas pattern. And you would think to yourself, stripe on stripe. So we have a diagonal stripe over the top of all the colorful strips, but it works. It just works. And sometimes it's nice to not be afraid of that. It's going to be okay. We do have that white border on the photo, which really does help it stand apart and really pop on all of those patterns. And it's making it so festive, so playful, and so fun. And it is giving it a bit of a vintage vibe with all the little vintagey patterns in the background. So now I'm looking at some possible sentiments. So I don't have a lot of titles on the sticker sheet, but we don't have to have huge titles. I can pull some titles out of the little mini stickers from the Memories and More cards. I can cut some titles out of some of those cards and make that work. And I love that most of the time you would look at those little tiny stickers in the back of the Memories and More cards and automatically think card making, right? They're tiny little stickers and you would think card making, but they actually make perfect little clusters for this layout. And there's plenty of little sentiments that I can use. I like Better Together. Now, Better Together isn't probably going to make sense to all of you for my left page, but because this layout is going to be about my brother and I when we were young and visiting Santa together, it's going to make sense. And I really, really want to keep that Better Together sticker in there. And so I'm thinking I can fussy cut a few trees out of a few of the cards. You get duplicates. Some of the cards, I think you get 6. I think you get 6 of most of them. Some of the cards you get 4 of them. I'll have to look at how many you get all together. I don't know why it's a large amount. I keep wanting to say 24, but I think 24 is what we used to get in our Close to My Heart Picture My Life cards. This is what these remind me of. If any of you out there are familiar with Close to My Heart, or you crossed over with Close to My Heart, we had Picture My Life cards that were 3x4 and 4x6, and they were a main staple for years in my Simply Scrappin' workshops. And then Close to My Heart retired the Picture My Life program, and I was so sad. I had to use even less supplies on my Simply Scrappin'. And I always promise that my Simply Scrappin' is a real light supply list. It's a lower price point. It's an easier supply list. There's less ingredients, but I really love having these cards. You can use them traditionally. So if you're using a traditional layout that has 3x4 sections or 4x6 sections, you can use these cards as a whole. If you're a pocket scrapbooker and you like to slide cards into pockets and create your pages that way, these cards will be fantastic. But because there's so many duplicates, I'm going to get so many trees and deer and titles, and then they have the little stickers in the back, which is just like an added bonus. So I love the little cluster up there by the journaling sticker. The journaling sticker came off off the 12 by 12 sticker sheet because you do get 12 by 12 stickers. The stickers for this particular workshop are pretty large and there's not too many title opportunities. There's a few. So I love having the extra title opportunities in the Memories and More cards. So I'm just going to add a couple trees to kind of help balance out that Warm Wishes title. Also, the Warm Wishes title is the real red color, and the real red is inside this workshop. So we need some green to balance out the red. And so I'm going to fussy cut the tree out of another one of the Memories and More cards. And just see if I can add that underneath. Plus it adds the Christmas element. So you've got some regular trees and then you've got some a Christmassy tree in there. And I think it's going to be just enough. I'm loving it. I'm not shying away from all of the busyness. I embraced the busy patterns. I tried to use them wisely with some small transitions and tried to balance the finer patterns on the strips with red, green, and alternate it also with 1/2, 1/4, 1/2, 1/4 to have a little bit of balance in there. And I'm really loving how it's coming together. It feels retro, it feels vintage, it feels colorful, and I'm really proud of myself for letting go and not worrying so much about toning down the patterns. Now, don't get me wrong, I will always probably tone down patterns. It's just something that you do if you've got too much of a good thing, right? But I really loved embracing the patterns in this, and I think it works. And there are times where it will just definitely work for you. So I actually looked up the Memories and More cards. You get 54 cards in a single pack, plus 4 sticker sheets in the back of those. So you get 4x6, you get 3x4 cards. They're double-sided with icons and patterns on both sides, and they actually add so much to your scrapbooking layouts. I'm so happy to have all the bits. Sometimes it's hard to come up with bits when you're not using Cricut cuts and you're not using stamping and you're not using dies. But my promise on my simple workshop is that I don't. And so I think we made a great layout without adding all those things. And everything has a place and everyone has a style. And I love that we're able to do both styles. And this is a pretty caseable layout. I think it's pretty easy to reduplicate. And it also could use lots of scraps. I hope you love it. I hope you think it's festive and fun. And I hope you'll stay tuned for more here on Snips by Kelly and for the reveal of the full 10-page Reindeer Days Simply Scrappin' workshop. Thanks for hanging with me and watching, and thanks in advance for your comments, your likes, your subscribes, and your shares. They really keep me going and they keep me sharing with all of you right here on YouTube. We'll see you soon. Happy scrapping, everyone. Bye-bye.